Aisha Buhari decision to become president of Nigeria. Women are the pillars of a home because they can destroy it or construct it. These valid powers of women had been so much displayed by most of them who believe that gender doesn't create any limitations whatsoever. Nigeria being a nation that pays less tribute to women and they are powerless, it is really difficult to have a woman rising to the peak. Nevertheless, the Nigerian women wouldn't want to tolerate that discrimination anymore as they continually break unpredictable grounds and make great achievements like their counterparts. The past week had been a memorial week as certain political differences, challenges, issues and more matters were arising. It is no news anymore on the recent shooting incident in the presidential villa. To many, the home of the president, his deputy and members of their household must be the safest and most calm environment. The presidential villa had been a quiet place, but the silence was broken by the recent shooting in the villa. There had been a verbal attack before the shooting by the aides of the nation's first Lady Aisha Buhari. It was identified that the occurrence was not an attack from an external force. Instead, it was a trouble originating from the nation's villa. The First Lady was reported to have ensured the attack in attempt to ensure that Sabiu Yusuf, the personal assistant to the President Muhammad Buhari and also the President's nephew, to self-isolate themselves, having returned from a trip to Lagos, which is the most state affected with COVID-19. After the gunshot by Mrs. Buhari's aides, reports reached the Inspector General of Police, who ordered for the arrest of those involved in the gunshot, featuring Mrs. Buhari's security officers and all those that joined in the attack against Yusuf. The First Lady ordered for the release of her security aides that were arrested, as she wrote on her social media platform requesting that the Inspector General of Police should release her aides. She wrote that COVID-19 is real and still very much around in our nation. It's not in doubt. Consequently, I call on all relevant government agencies to enforce the Quarantine Act signed by Mr. President and ensure no one is found violating this law and the NCDC guidelines, especially on interstate travel without the necessary exemption for movement of essentials. Anyone who does not should at the very least be made to undergo a 14-day mandatory isolation, no matter who the person is. No one should be above the law, and the police command will do well to remember that. Finally, I call on the Inspector General of Police to release my assigned staff members who are still in the custody of the police in order to avoid putting their lives in danger or exposure to COVID-19 while in their custody. Also, recall that after Abakiari's death, she immediately got to work to get Buba Mawa appointed Chief of Staff to Buhari. Meanwhile, Buhari had been dependent on Maman Daura for intellectual ideas. Therefore, being such close, he wouldn't have any problem making such consideration. It could have been a great opportunity for Aisha Buhari to commemorate her political quest. Indimi had earlier pleaded with Buhari to consider Gambari for the Chief of Staff position. If not, he wouldn't have stood a chance. It turned out that Buhari and, most importantly, Maman Daura had not yet been totally sold on the Gambari candidacy when news of his appointment fired on social media. She wanted Buba Mawa to succeed Abakari, but all didn't work out as planned, and the whole plans was destroyed and new ones made, as she still was a main part of the presidential matters. We could recall the story of selecting a replacement for Abakari and the different role the First Lady of Nigeria played to get to her interest. In all this interference, it could be discovered that Aisha still have a nurtured political agenda and had been on it to ensure her plans were successfully executed. With this occurrence and the past act, it seems Mrs. Buhari is strongly gaining a good ground in the nation's government. She seems to have all authority bestowed on her. She had no fear of anyone, nor the consequences of trying to force the president's personal assistants to self-isolate himself. Don't you think that was an abuse of power? She could have politely asked the necessary authorities to enforce and execute the law on Yusuf instead of causing a scene. Was it all about self-isolating Yusuf, or was there a breach of plans? This clearly shows that Aisha Buhari, the nation's first lady, is exercising certain authorities not bestowed on her. She is so fearless, and guess what? She might run her way into the presidency. A courageous woman and bold type. No first lady had summoned great courage to do the things she had been doing and is still doing. Some have different opinions on her reasons for acting that way, but to me, she is taking laws into her hands instead of allowing the necessary authorities to do their jobs. Thank you for listening to this news. Viewers, that's just the reality. It is very, very possible with what one is seeing right now. It is very, very possible with what we are witnessing. Aisha Buhari can still make it to that position, because with what we are seeing in Nigeria and in Aso Villa, there is every possibility for Aisha Buhari to make it into that position as a Nigerian president. You understand? So no one should underestimate her capability and her plan. You understand? And you know one thing about these Northerners, they are very, very deceitful when they in planning. They may be planning something and you will not be aware of. So we should not underestimate her human power. She is already using it in Aso Rock. So there is nothing difficult for her. It's not difficult for her to use it in Nigeria. You understand? So with what is going on presently in Aso Villa, coupled with what we are experiencing in Nigeria as a country, I will tell you that Aisha Buhari has a positive, there is a contribution by those things, by those happenings. So my viewers, please, your comments concerning this news are very much important. Don't forget to leave them behind. Click on the subscription buttons as well as bell buttons to receive more updates. Thank you.